this door before I break the door. Open this door. My husband. I'm so tired. I want to rest. Please let me rest. Please let me rest. Vanessa sat still as the makeup artist added the final touches on her face. The bright gold trimmed wedding gown felt heavy on her body, but not as heavy as the weight in her chest. The chatter of the bridesmaids filled the room, but their excitement felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. This was supposed to be the happiest day in her life, but as she stared at herself in the mirror, she could only see a stranger. Vanessa, smile now. Her best friend Chloe nudged her. You are getting married to one of the most eligible bachelors in Port Harcourt. Do you know how many girls wish they were in your shoes? Vanessa forced a smile. She knew Glory meant well, but if only she understood. Derek was a wealthy, handsome man from a respected family. Their parents had arranged the marriage, believing it would be a perfect match. She had barely known him before their engagement, just a few brief meetings, mostly in the presence of the family. He had seemed charming enough, confident in a way that made people admire him, but something had felt off. He had a way of looking at her that made her skin prickle, like she was something to be owned, something to be possessed. Time to go, her mother's voice rang out, full of pride. Don't keep your husband waiting. Vanessa swallowed hard as she stood. The wedding procession began as she walked towards the man who would become her husband. She wondered if she was walking toward happiness or into a cage. She had no idea how soon she would find out. The wedding was a grand affair, the kind that left people talking for weeks. Guests filled the hall dressed in their best, while the live band played high life music that made the older guests sway in their seats. The air smelled of jollof rice, grilled fish, and expensive perfume. Vanessa sat beside Derek on the elevated couples table, her face stretched in a polite smile as well wishers approached with gifts and advice. Derek's hand rested possessively on hers, his grip firm as if he were afraid she would slip away. Every time he turned to look at her, there was something in his gaze that unsettled her, a burning intensity that felt too much too soon. When it was time for the dance, Derek pulled her close, his hands gripping her waist tightly. He leaned down, his lips brushing her ear. I can't wait to have you all to myself tonight, he murmured. Vanessa's stomach twisted. She nodded, unsure of what to say. Hours later, they arrived at Derek's house, a lavish mansion in one of Patago's most expensive estates. The moment they stepped inside, Derek shut the door and turned to her with a hungry look. I've waited long enough, he said, reaching for her. Vanessa's heart pounded. She wasn't naive, she knew what was expected of her, but there was something almost desperate in the way Derek touched her, something that made her skin crawl. That night, she barely slept. Each time she tried to rest, Derek pulled her back as though her body was his personal playground. By the time morning came, she was exhausted, sore, and confused. Maybe it was just wedding night excitement, she told herself. Maybe things would calm down. But deep down, she feared they wouldn't. Vanessa hoped things would settle into normal rhythm, but by the end of the first week, she realized she was wrong. Derek was insatiable. Morning, afternoon, night. He wanted her constantly, as if her body existed solely for his pleasure. She had no time to rest, no time to breathe. He would take her in the middle of the night, his hands already roaming, his needs urgent. Even when she was exhausted, even when she begged him to let her sleep, he would chuckle and say, a good wife must always satisfy her husband. At first, she tried to reason with him. She told him she needed time to adjust, that she was tired, that she felt drained. But Derek would only smile, dismissing her words with a kiss, whispering, you'll get used to it. Days turned into weeks, and Vanessa began to dread the nights. She avoided eye contact with Derek during the day, afraid that even the slightest glance would spark his desire again. but it didn't matter. He always wanted more. She became a shadow of herself. Dark circles formed under her eyes. Her once bright laughter disappeared. Her energy drained away. When she went to visit her mother, she thought she would finally find some relief. Mama, I'm tired, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't think I can do this. Her mother frowned. Do what? This marriage. Derek, he Vanessa hesitated, unsure how to explain what she was going through. Her mother sighed, my dear, marriage is not always easy. A woman must endure. Your father was the same when we got married, but with time, things calm down. Just give him what he wants, and he will love you more. Vanessa felt her stomach sink. There would be no help from her mother. As she sat in the car on the way home, staring at the quiet streets of Port Harcourt, a single thought settled in her mind. She was trapped. Vanessa knew she couldn't keep living like this. Every night felt like a battle she could never win. Every morning, she woke up feeling weaker than the last. She had no control over her own body. Derek took what he wanted when he wanted without a second thought. Desperate, she turned to Glory. They met at a quiet cafe away from prying eyes. You look terrible. You look terrible, Chloe said, concern written all over her face. Vanessa stirred her drink absent-mindedly. I don't sleep anymore. Why? What do you mean? Vanessa hesitated before speaking. Derek, he doesn't let me rest. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm dying slowly. Glory's eyes widened. Are you saying he forces you? Vanessa shook her head. It's not force, but it's like I don't have a choice. He won't take no for an answer. He acts like my body belongs to him and nothing else matters. Glory sighed, her fingers drumming against the table. Vanessa, this is serious. Have you talked to him? I tried. She let out a bitter laugh. He just tells me it's my duty as a wife. Glory looked around, lowering her voice. Maybe you should speak to someone, a therapist, a lawyer, anybody. Vanessa bit her lip. You know my family won't support that. My mother already told me to endure. A heavy silence stretched between them. Then what will you do? Glory finally asked. Vanessa didn't know the answer, but what she did know was that she couldn't take this any much longer. Something had to change before she lost herself completely. She started avoiding Derek as much as she could. She spent longer hours in the kitchen, pretended to have headaches, even faked menstrual cramps just to get a break. But nothing worked. One evening after dinner, she excused herself and went to the guest room, locking the door behind her. For the first time in weeks, she felt a small sense of relief. She curled up on the bed, hoping for a peaceful night's sleep, but just as she was drifting off, a loud bang shook the door. Vanessa, open this door now. Derek's voice was sharp with anger. She froze. Derek, I just want to sleep here tonight. He hit the door again. Are you mad? Open this door now before I break it down. Tears filled her eyes. She knew what would happen if she opened the door, but she also knew he couldn't stop until she did. Her hands trembled as she turned the lock. The door flew open. Derek stormed in, his face twisted with rage. What is wrong with you? Derek, please, she begged. I just need rest. I can't keep up with this. He grabbed her arm, pulling her close. You are my wife. You don't get to decide when and when not to do your duty. Vanessa felt something break inside her. She had been patient. She had tried to endure. But now she realized this wasn't marriage. This was ownership. And she refused to be owned. As Derek pulled her towards the bed, something inside her snapped. With all her strength, she shoved him away. Enough! She screamed, her voice shaking. I am not a machine. I am not a toy. I am a human being. Derek looked stunned, as if the thought had never crossed his mind. For the first time since their marriage, Vanessa saw fear in his eyes, and in that moment, she knew she couldn't stay here anymore. Vanessa knew she had to leave, but she needed a plan. If she walked out now, Derek's family would drag her back, and her own parents would shame her for disgracing them. She had to be smart. The next morning, while Derek was at work, she searched for help. She found a woman support center online and called them in a hushed voice, her hands shaking. A counselor listened patiently, then told her something she hadn't expected. There are legal protections for women in your situation. But he's my husband, Vanessa whispered. Doesn't that mean he has the right? No one has the right to take away your consent. Vanessa, the counselor said firmly, you deserve to be safe. That night, she began gathering evidence. She recorded their conversations, saved messages where he dismissed her pain, and even took pictures of the bruises his grip sometimes left on her arms. She also reached out to Glory. I need your help, Vanessa said when they met in secret. Glory didn't hesitate. Whatever you need. Together, they made a plan. Vanessa would leave when Derek traveled for a business trip the next week. She would take only what she needed and disappear before anyone could stop her. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope, but she knew the hardest part was yet to come. The night before Derek's trip, Vanessa lay awake, waiting for him to fall asleep. His arm was draped over her possessively, his breathing deep and steady. She held her breath, listening, making sure he was truly asleep before she gently slid out of bed. She had packed a small bag earlier, hiding it under the guest room's bed. She moved slightly, her heart pounding as she grabbed it and slipped on her sandals. Just as she reached the door, the bed creaked. She froze. Derek stared, mumbling something in his sleep, then turned to the other side. Vanessa didn't wait. She unlocked the door and stepped into the hallway. Forcing herself to move quickly, she walked out of the house, the night air cool against her skin. The gate was unlocked. Glory had bribed the guard earlier. Her friend was waiting in her car down the street. As soon as Vanessa got in, Glory hit the accelerator. They drove in silence for a while before Glory finally spoke. Are you okay? Vanessa exhaled, staring at the dark streets of Port Harcourt. I don't know, she admitted, but I'm free. She didn't know what the future held, but for now, she had escaped, and that was enough. A week later, Vanessa sat in a small apartment in Enugu, far from the reach of Derek and their families. The weight on her chest had not fully lifted, but for the first time in months, she could breathe. She had filled her legal separation with the help of the Women's Support Center. Derek's family tried to cover the scandal, offering to fix things, but Vanessa refused. She was done with being silenced. One afternoon, her phone rang. It was her mother. You have disgraced us, her mother said, her voice thick with disappointment. Do you think marriage is easy? Do you think you'll ever find another man after this? Vanessa swallowed, gripping the phone tightly. I would rather be alone than spend my life as someone's prisoner. Her mother sighed. What will people say? I don't care anymore, Vanessa said, her voice steady. She ended the call and stared at the window. For the first time in a long time, she felt peace. She had survived, and now she was ready to start over on her own terms. The end.